Attention, all of my elevated content seekers. We Believe Digital is designed to inspire. Whether it's music, news, entertainment, We Believe Digital has the content that you don't want to miss. We're bringing you the best in news, entertainment, sports, inspiration, and so much more. Not only are we designed to inspire, but you can advertise with us and reach your target audience now. Got something that you believe in? Well, we believe in you, and we're offering you the opportunity to become a podcaster at We Believe Digital Studios. To become a want to know more? You can contact us at www.webelievedigital.com. And while you're at it, be sure to follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Roku at We Believe Digital.
Good evening and welcome to Doc and Sock. We're broadcasting live from right here in Jackson, Mississippi. Mississippi, the heart of the Deep South. Mississippi, a troubled state. Has been a troubled state for quite some time, but don't forget that once Mississippi was the richest state in the country. They had more slaves than there were Europeans in the whole state of Mississippi. My co-host once said that if African Americans wanted to revolt, they could have overpowered the slave masters because we outnumbered them 2-1. But that didn't happen here in Mississippi. And so now we are suffering from the remnants of that horrible experience called slavery. And so here at We Believe Digital, we're going to deal with some of these issues. We're going to talk about the pressing issues in our community, especially in the state of Mississippi. We're going to deal with some national issues as well, like we always try and do. But we're going to give you some chronological history of how things occurred in the great state of Mississippi. I know you don't tune in to us to see what's going on in California. We appreciate that. We'll try our best to focus on down south. You know, whenever you're up north, people are saying, we got to go down south. I used to watch my relatives come in from up north, and they would be driving some of the fastest cars and wearing some of the best clothes. It made me want to be up north. Little did I know that the car was rented and the clothes were rented just for the trip back home. But you always want to impress. You always want to impress your loved ones and relatives. You always want to say that you're doing good. So now if you're watching us on Facebook, then share this program with your friends and families. Subscribe to the program, send us stars. And if you're watching us over on YouTube, hit the notification bell. Subscribe to the program. You can get We Believe Digital Broadcast wherever you get your streaming from, whether that's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and many more platforms. Now, as always, my co-host is the distinguished gentleman from the Mississippi Delta, Dr. Eldridge Henderson, born on a plantation in the Mississippi Delta and overcame that. Much like Moses, somebody must have put him in a basket and put him in the Mississippi River so that he could get away from old Pharaoh. Pharaoh was rough in that Delta back at that time. Doc, as always, it's good to see you. How have you been?
Well, thank you, sir. I'm proud to be here. I've been well, and that's the only way I make it happen every day. I'm well, got to be well, because I have told myself I have at least 25 more years to do what I do, and then I'm going to consider retiring and working part-time for 10 years.
Doc, tell our viewers how to get in touch with you.
Very simple, folks. If you want to hear the real news that can tell you how to change your life in 30, 60, 90 days, you call me direct at 601-201-1957. That's Eldridge Henderson, 601-201-1957. Or you can email us at clu369@gmail.com. And we'll give you the real news that you can't hear on radio and television. We have a lot of versions. The general version and the Pacific version that will tell you how to do things you need to do in 30, 60, or 90 days.
Now, Doc, you have an email address that they would need to get as well?
That's right. That's CLU369@gmail.com. I want you all to use it, folks. You're using the phone number, 601-201-1957, but I don't get a lot of email responses, and I want you to start using both. We want to get an opportunity to visit some of you in Asia and Africa, Europe, in Spain, anywhere, Chicago, California. You need to call us, folks. You know you all don't hear nothing but the same thing. We want to tell you something different. You need the Mississippi perspective.
Now, Doc, in Mississippi, we have been ranked #1 in crime for a long time, for the last 3 years running. The most dangerous city in America. We recently reaffirmed our position as the #1 crime city in the country. Doc, we're the blackest city in America. Jackson, Mississippi has more African Americans than any other city. Now, we're not talking about the percentage of African Americans versus the percentage of African Americans that live in Chicago. We're not talking about that. We're talking about per capita. We're talking about Jackson has 150,000 residents in it, and 85 to 90% of those are black. Doc, we are a chocolate city.
Well, that's correct. And we are going to continue to be a chocolate city until just a few more years. In 15 years, you're going to see a shift in the black population in Mississippi, and especially Jackson, because of regentrification, rehabilitating old buildings that they're going to fix so they can rent them for $10, $15, $3,000 a month plus utilities. They just bought I would say the city council just made a ruling that's going to let the fortification YMCA is going to be sold to a developer, and they're going to have multi-units over there. Going to have all kinds of new development in Jackson, and it's going to hit downtown Jackson soon. And when that happens, you're going to have a lot of those old King Edward situations where you will have new development in Jackson, downtown, but the people that's living there currently will not be able to afford to live there. So gradually, the black population of Jackson going to be moving to Bolton, Mississippi, Clinton, Byram, and a few of them that have the economic means will be moving to Madison and Pearl. That's going to destroy the black population of Jackson. And then about 15 years from now, you're going to have white mayors again. You're going to have about 3 or 4 black white city council people. And the school system is going to diminish to the point where probably have about 1,500 students, because the poor students going to be gone to the cities I mentioned, and the other students going to be in private schools, because a lot of the public school system in Jackson going to be erased, and it's going to be private and religious type schools in the city. They're going to be small. I bet you wouldn't have not one school in Jackson with 1,000 population in the next 15 years.
Doc, all of that doesn't sound like we're making a lot of progress. And in the fact and evidence of the fact that not long ago, recently, a black woman was found hanging from a tree in the backyard on Road of Remembrance. And we've had hangings at the Mississippi Delta. And then we had the Nolan Wells issue where the young man went out on the 4th of July and did not come home. And so what is it that we got to do to get Mississippi off of the bottom and to change our image?
We're going to have to do something that no leader in this area wants to do. I tell you, if you look at the stats, and we have done it, if you look at most of the killings that's happening, those from 14 to 30 years of age, you'll find that they have 2 problems. Most of the people that's doing the killing and the raping in Jackson, Mississippi, are high school dropouts, or they are young people that didn't get to high school. And the thing that can change that is the school system, the police chief, the city leaders can get together and repurpose some of these schools that are closed. You know, they got 8 or 9 of them closed, have apartments, complexes, and all kind of industrial buildings that's available for rehabbing. And they can put these short-term certified courses in these areas, round up the young people that dropped out of school, that's killing people and doing all this rape and other things, and put them in short-term programs where they can learn artificial intelligence, learn vocational trades, and you will find those same people that's doing the killing and the stealing will start working and saving and buying things, investing their monies. Because if you don't feed a person through education, he's going to take your feed through rock and rabies.
Now, Doc, we're going to take a short break here. I want to check something to make absolutely certain that we're being heard properly. So, engineer, let's take a commercial break and we'll be right back.
Have you had your Earth Blend coffee today? At Earth Blend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earth Blend Coffee. To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.
Jackson, get ready for a brand new entertainment experience where fun, good vibes, and unforgettable memories all come together. Whether you're planning a date night, girls' night out, birthday parties, or you just want to have a good time, we're creating the place for you. 2659 Livingston Road, across from the Medical Mall, Snooty Fox. It's your destination for a good time. Attention, all of my elevated content seekers. We believe digital is designed to inspire. Whether it's music, news, entertainment, we believe digital has the content that you don't want to miss. We're bringing you the best in news, entertainment, sports, inspiration, and so much more. Not only are we designed to inspire,
at Earth Blend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earth Blend Coffee. To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.
Jackson, get ready for a brand new entertainment experience where fun, good vibes, and unforgettable memories all come together. Whether you're planning a date night, girls' night out, birthday parties, or you just want to have a good time, we're creating the place for you. 2659 Livingston Road, across from the Medical Mall, Snooty Fox. It's your destination for a good time.
And we're back. Again, I wanted to make absolutely certain that we're being heard properly out there, and the engineers have checked it, and they tell me A-OK. So we were talking about the fact that we got a lot of crime in Mississippi, and I mentioned the fact that Nolan Wells, a young African-American student, went out on the 4th of July with his friends, Caucasian friends, and he did not come home. Now, Doc, you've done some research on this case. Kind of walk us through some of the high points as to the timelines and what happened here.
Well, as you know, he and his friends allegedly went to the Ireland there. It's Mississippi playground where you can do anything you want. Don't have any police or anything there on a significant basis. It's just a playground where you indulge in all kinds of activities, sports, water sports. You can do a little smoking dope and gambling if you choose, drinking alcohol, and play around with the opposite sex. That's what people do when they go to places like that. And allegedly, that's what those boys were doing. They had a few girls around there. And Nolan, being one of the few blacks there at that time, he came, according to our information, on a boat with some white young boys that alleged to be his friends. They all were friends, according to the information you read. And he's the only one that didn't come back. And for some reason, He elected to stay on the island. The others left him, his so called friends, and they found him dead some hours later, face down in the water. And now they are alleging that the information is not clear as to whether he was murdered or whether he drowned. There have been a lot of allegations through social media that he was influenced by some hatred, possibly. There are other allegations on the social media platforms that he might have been drinking too much. Other allegations stated that he might have been killed, and all kinds of information has been distributed. A lot of it probably false or just some opinions. But the real fact is they have not made a determination through autopsies exactly what happened. They have had at least two. All the information has not been released other than through hearsay. The grand jury has to get it, and they are only going to get what they are given. So therefore, they can easily say it was not anything other than an accidental drowning. So we'll know in a few weeks or a few months exactly what the autopsies are saying. As you know, there were two, or will be two, one public and one private. The state of Mississippi is supposed to engage in one of the autopsies. The Wells family is supposed to hire a private contractor to do an independent autopsy. But as you know, if you read all the documentation, they did get the body, but they only had part of the body. So the private autopsy not going to have enough information to give what we call a definitive ruling on whether he was killed, whether he drowned, or whatever. So we're just going to be left up to the grand jury. And if his family does not have a private investigation starting from the 3rd of July through tomorrow, they're not going to have the real information. They have to get those phones and do what we call a forensic check on the telephones and look at all the email and everything and see what the real facts are. According to some allegations, a lot of the information has been erased from his phone. He didn't have it on him. It was left, the phone and his keys. So just a lot of mess. There's something going on in this case that doesn't smell too good, and you know what that is.
Now, Doc, the grand jury has not been presented the evidence that we know of. The evidence is being sealed. And the DA down there says that that's standard procedures to seal the information, that they don't automatically inherently imply that there's criminal suspicion just because they find a body floating in the ocean. They don't think that's criminal implications right there. But in the Black community, they do immediately think that that's criminal activity. And so the Black folks are very suspicious of this, while the DA may not be, but Black folk are. And so the Jackson County Sheriff's Office initially stated there was no immediate indication of foul play, suggesting that Mr. Wells may have chosen to stay behind on the island and subsequently drown. That's what the sheriff's office initially stated. The family disagrees. The family brought in Ben Crump, the Moses of Black attorneys these days. Whenever there's a crime in Mississippi, Mr. Crump is summoned to the state to see what's going on with it. I know he was here for the Goon Squad incident over in Rankin County. He's been in the young baby that got shot. He was brought into that. He's brought into the case up in Grenada, in that area, not long ago. And we had two incidents of children being shot, Doc, in Mississippi and one up north Mississippi. And Ben Crump has been summoned and puts on his cape, and he's on his way to Mississippi to solve the problem, much like Perry Mason did on TV.
That's right, Perry Mason and Superman. He can get things done. But now you see what happens in cases like that. That's why I always tell you all, you need local people to be involved very seriously in these kind of cases. When these outsiders come in like this, I don't want to sound like the white folks, to call these outsiders outside agitators. Don't be coming down here messing with our Negroes. That's what they say. But we have enough smart lawyers in Mississippi and in the South to handle cases like this. And some of these parents are just going to have to start using the local attorneys. And I know a lot of them are afraid to put their license on the line and take these cases, but there has to be one or two that will do this. And then you will find that you can have a dual investigation with people that know each other, and you get all sides of the evidence. Because as you know, and I know a little about evidence, I used to be a police officer years ago, and there is nothing but evidence that is shown by the people that selected and give it to the grand jury. You can have all the evidence you want, but you give the grand jury what you think is best for them at the time, after you talk to your captain and your police chief and some of the local judges in the community and others, and get the best advice that's going to look out for your community citizens that are being involved indirectly. And you want to do something, give them part of the information, and they might just say, well, there's no criminal act here. We're just going to dismiss this case.
Doc, I didn't know you used to be a police officer.
That's right. In Hines County years ago, back in the 70s.
Black people don't trust the police.
Well, they don't.
And
when I was police officer, I didn't trust them. But I needed a job, and I went and got the interview. See, you didn't have to go to the police academy during those days. You just had to pass an interview. And
the problem with law enforcement in Mississippi is Mississippi's history. Mississippi has a history that causes Black folk to be suspicious of law enforcement. When we look at the number of individuals that are locked up in Mississippi jails and Mississippi's penal institutions, then we are finding that Black people are more than 70% of the population in those institutions, and yet we're only 40% of the population in the entire state. So, Doc, we remember when the sheriff's department was involved in the killing of the 3 civil rights workers up in Philadelphia. We remember when the sheriff department was part of the Klan. So police and judges in Mississippi are viewed with one eye open at all of the time when it comes to police in Jackson, Mississippi.
Well, that's correct. All of them are of the same family. Some just have economic means and some don't. And now they have a good system that looks like democracy, where the people now that are wearing the blue suits or the gone squad types, they get their information from their chiefs and from the people in the legislature and others, and the city council folks and all the attorneys that represent city government. They get people that are on the lower level economically, that are making these little salaries, $40,000 and $50,000 a year, and they do the dirty work.
Wow.
And of course, they're protected by their police chiefs and by judges and by attorney generals and district attorneys. And very seldom, even if there's evidence, the police can get away with almost anything. And people know what they are doing. But every now and then you will find a case where it's just so pervasive until one will have to file a few charges and a few people are taken to court. But normally that does not happen anywhere in the South and very few places in the North where the rich folks are involved in criminal activity.
Engineer, put that slide back up on the screen a minute. I want to take a look at the Mississippi's breakdown. In Mississippi, Black people make up about 38 to 39% of the state's residents, but account for roughly 60 to 62% of the state's prison populations. Black individuals in Mississippi are incarcerated at a rate that is roughly 2.5 times higher than white individuals. Doc, that doesn't spell justice.
Well, there's no such thing as justice anywhere in America that I know of. See, when there's a lot of criminal activity, Mr. Socrates, police officers usually have certain people they look for first. And that's usually a Black person. It all depends on the criminal activities. If it's a non-white collar crime, they're going to do their best to find a black person to put it on. And if they can't find one, they'll create one. And then they will get witnesses to say, oh, yeah, he did it. I was there. I saw him. And they pick him up out of a, what they call those things where you put them up there and they look at you and say, that's the one. A lineup. Yeah, a lineup. And you can always find someone to pick someone about a lineup. And the best person to do that is find one that already has some criminal charges against him and get him or her to go and identify the person. And you're going to almost identify the person to that person that's looking at him after you give a good description and say, is that him right there in that white shirt?
Doc, that's where the old cliche came that said, all y'all look alike.
That's exactly right.
You know, so we can just pick out one and that's the right one.
And you charge him or her, and I don't care what they tell you where they were, and the evidence can prove they were at home taking care of a good family barbecue, and there are 2 or 3 witnesses say, no, that's him. And he will serve 30, 40, 50 years in prison, and he's innocent, and they know he's innocent. Then when you finally get a chance to do a thorough investigation, you will find that the police and others had all the evidence in the first place that they didn't present to the jury, or when they had the trial, they didn't bring it up before the judge.
We talked about Tony Parker's 2 books on law, lynching, freedom, and faith tell one complete story in 2 different perspectives. Tony was a state trooper, but he became a victim of the system when he was wrongfully accused of drug dealing. He spent 18 years in prison for a 27.5-year sentence. He was wrongfully convicted, and he was a state trooper.
Well, that's what happened when you don't want to be involved in criminal activity. If you want to lose your job working for what I call illegal system, one that's not fair in their rulings, I don't care whether it's in the police department, the education department, or one of those religious denominational headquarters, the one that talks about the fact that I'm not going to indulge in these kind of activities, and if you all don't stop doing what you're doing, I'm going to go and tell it. And when you start blowing that whistle, you can always expect something is going to happen to you. If you're not assassinated or fired, they're going to plant some drugs on you, put some evidence against you, and you're going to go to court, and I guarantee you, you're not going to win. And that's what happened in his case, allegedly. I've read some of the newspaper accounts. I haven't read the book yet, but I'm going to read it eventually. But basically, he was falsely accused.
Wow. And we remember when we had the real initiative on the war on drugs, and Black folk were getting all kinds of sentences for possession of marijuana. And this disparity in sentencing became a real battle because the sentencing for crack cocaine was 10 times higher than the possession of cocaine. And so Black people were probably the root. They did less drugs than anybody else, but they served more time than anyone else for smaller activities.
Well, that's again a dual system, you see. Now, we all know that the white folks in America have more money than Black folks. I don't care whether they are rich or poor. They have more money than the rich Black. They have more money than the poor Blacks. So therefore, if something happened, they don't have to worry about anything. And if you have a law that's going to put someone in jail for drugs or for stealing or whatever, they're going to fix the law where the Black man is going to be considered first. And that's who they're going to start looking for. And this drug thing that you were talking about, same drug, it's always how it's packaged. And then they're going to start investigating, and Blacks are going to be accused. And that's exactly what happened for over 50 years.
On the screen, she says that Black people are 2.7 to 3.9 times more likely to be arrested for marijuana possession than white people. How can that be, Doc?
Very easily. When you first concentrate on who you're going to stop initially. And some people don't seem to know that as a police officer, your chiefs expect you to make arrests. See, the police department has to have some money. So you just can't be riding around in your car and never making an arrest. You got to bring some money in. You got to bring some tickets in for speeding or for someone with drugs or other stolen items in the car. So as people know, and this is not a secret, in the old days, and I understand currently it still happens in some areas, and it is permitted indirectly and allegedly not knowing about it, the upper crust police, they're supposed to keep at least a knife, a pistol, and a few drugs close by. So if you want to meet your quota, you can throw a few drugs in the person's car, put a pistol or knife in his area, and say he had a deadly weapon.
Wow.
And you already know whether he's a felon or not when you go back and check the ticket, his driver's license or whatever, in most cases. So you always got people out there you can put in jail.
Now, Doc, we spent a lot of time on talking about Mississippi and the injustices that continue as of this day. But yet, now, when it comes to changing Mississippi, we have to have a strategy to fix this. We got to have fair judges, and we got to have fair citizens, and we got to have all of the things that we've just been talking about. We got to correct all that. But even after we correct that, Docs, Mississippi is divided. Now, I asked you the other day, how many poor whites are in the state of Mississippi compared to blacks?
Well, believe it or not, and most people don't want to believe it, the black poor group barely is just a little higher than the white poor group. Now, there are a lot of poor whites in Mississippi because there are more white in Mississippi than blacks. You have about 1/4 of the white folks in Mississippi poor, and you have about 1/3 of the blacks that are poor. So you have a lot of white poor folks. I mean, a lot of them. And those folks are very concerned about that. And they have the same problem the blacks have. They have less education. They have less job opportunities, but at least they will get the job, whether they are qualified or have minimal qualifications versus a black with a similar qualification. So they're going to always get the job and make that lower wage, just enough to keep them living. They can't buy a home. They can buy a trailer. They can buy an old truck, but they very seldom can buy a new home and a new vehicle to ride in. Very few of these poor whites can send their children to the private white school, and there are few blacks that can send theirs there, but it can't be done singly by the mother and the father. Usually the grandmother, granddaddy, the uncle, and 4 or 5 family members pool the resources, send that black kid to that white private school, and that's a status thing, as you know. And a lot of black folks are borrowing money and buying new cars for their 16, 17-year-olds, using those credit cards, living paycheck to paycheck just to have the status in the community. And you better not let them get an extra $1,000. They're going to go and get a loan and move to a better part of the city or state, which I don't blame them if they can afford to do it, which they can't afford in most cases. They just make it happen and get in debt more seriously just to get out of the way from their cousins and their mama and daddy that's living in a ghetto somewhere, or in what I call the dark recesses of the rural area. And I'm telling you what I know. I've seen it happen.
Doc, being born on a plantation in the Mississippi Delta, I imagine you have seen a lot.
Doggone right.
Now, Doc, when are blacks and poor whites going to come together?
Well, it's not going to be anytime soon, but there are going to be some attempts. And you will find a small percentage of poor whites getting together with blacks and other minorities and what I call Democrats, socialists, and others. That's what the blacks going to have to start thinking about, building coalitions. And people don't like to hear that. But I've done the research, and it says that there is an opportunity if an independent voter or independent person that's running for office, for public office, can win an election without a runoff by building coalition with a group of people like the Republicans, the moderate Republicans, the liberal Republicans, the social Democrats, the poor whites, the liberals, the independents, and the regular Democrats. And the regular Democrats know they can't win anything by themselves. They have to build coalitions with the socialist Democrats. They're going to have to get together and decide among themselves that there must be some white liberals out there. There have to be some white moderate Republicans, and we are going to get with those folks, and we are going to get us a candidate or two and run in those positions. And since we have the coalition building ability, we're going to win, but we got to win without a runoff. We got to get that 52%, not 51%. You get 51%, I guarantee you they'll find some votes to take that majority from you. You got to be safe to get. I always find in my information that really, if you want to win, you better get about 53 to 54%.
Now, Doc, are you open to us inviting a poor white to join us in our presentation in our show each week?
I would like to have a poor white to come up in here and we can talk about this, or a moderate white or a liberal white. And there are some right here in Mississippi. There are some in Jackson. There are some in Hinds County. I know a few, but now they don't want to be exposed. And of course, there's always one or two you can find to do anything you want.
What do you mean by being exposed?
Well, if you are a black person, for instance, and you're an Uncle Tom, you don't want to be exposed. If you're a white person, and you are so-called not happy with your situation, you know that your white friends not going to give you a political position. They're not going to give you a scholarship to send your child to the private school, but that old black person would. You know, they will figure out a way to do it. And you're not going to find too many poor whites in these private schools. I mean, the upper crust schools, in the high schools and college and universities. You're not going to find many there. They have certain universities that they go to. You're not going to find too many of them in Ole Miss, in places like the law school, the pharmacy school, or the University Medical Center, in the nursing program and things of that nature. They're going to be in the vocational and technical schools and have good jobs there. Those few that can graduate.
Now, Doc, when we were growing up, we were poor, but I didn't know we were poor.
That's a fact.
So poor whites may not know that they're poor.
I guarantee you that I heard that lie. They know they are poor. You talk to them in private. See,
well, I'm going to send the invitation out right now here on Doc and Sock. We would love to have a white person on this show to help us talk about these issues and bring these races together to form a coalition where we can elect the kind of people that are going to bring about the change that's necessary to improve the quality of life for poor whites and blacks. I don't have to say poor blacks, that's understood. Poor whites and blacks. We got to build a coalition. According to Dr. Henderson, it can be done. I have my doubts, but he thinks it can be done. And the point of the matter is that in the Democratic race for governor in the state of Mississippi, we don't even have a Democratic candidate that's running for that office. So black folk, you're going to have to decide who you're going to vote for governor. And if you don't have a Democratic candidate, what shall you do?
Well, let me tell you what they can do. Now, you would say this is enough for one to be put in jail. But now, if the black folks don't have the ability to identify and persuade a black person to run for mayor as a Democrat, all they need to do is look at the people that's running in other parties and see who might be the most liberal. And they need to then get with those folks in a secret meeting and say, now, you are in this position for governor of Mississippi. You stand for these things. There are 6 things on your platform. 3 of them, something we could deal with. And say, we have about 40% of the vote. And if you give us certain positions, we want a certain position in the legal system. We want to have some judges. We want to have some state jobs. And we can guarantee you that if you give us those positions, we will vote for you and you will win without a runoff.
Now, Doc, should blacks then have a meeting? Should we send a message out to black folk that we're going to support a single Republican candidate?
That would be one of the smartest moves in the history of Mississippi since Reconstruction, if they would do that. Now, the Democrat leadership's going to have to do that and get with citizens like you and others that can give some financial support. And then the thing that is good about it, you don't have to have but so many hundred, a certain percentage of the registered voters.
Doc, the yellow dog Democrats are not going to send out any message that black folks ought to be voting in the Republican primary in a block.
No, I know they're not, but that's why you got to get with them and convince them to get a surrogate to do that for them. They're not going to announce that in the public that I'm a Democratic leader and I support something like this. They're supposed to be too smart to do that. But all of them got friends they can call and talk to them about it, and they should do it. That's what the other folks are doing.
Couldn't they call you?
They most certainly can.
Are you bold enough to say that we ought to support this Republican candidate for this reason in this election?
Well, you look at all the platforms and look at how close it is to what your problems are, get with them and work out something. That's called negotiation. That's called problem solving. Mm-hmm. That's called mediation.
Mm. Well, I wonder if they're listening.
Well, of course they're listening. The thing is, will they be bold enough to consider doing this?
And we're going to advocate that if a Democratic candidate, and even if a Democratic candidate does show up, the chances of that Democrat winning is very, very slim.
Winning what, governorship?
The governorship.
What you mean slim?
It's very slim.
It's worse than that.
It's worse than that.
Worse than slim.
So we need
a regular Democrat cannot win the governorship in Mississippi or any other state unless he or she builds some coalition with moderates, liberals, social democrats, independents. It's just not going to happen. I don't care even if Donald Trump supported it. You got to build coalitions when you don't have no more than 30% of the vote.
Put those list of candidates back up for me, engineer. I think that we have to have serious conversations about the 4 leading candidates for the governor of the state of Mississippi this November. We're going to have discussions about who we're going to support. I can tell you now that Lynn Fitch is the only woman that's running in this list of candidates.
That's an advantage for her.
That is an advantage for her. Mississippi has never had a female governor. We came close. We're back at Evelyn Gandy 25, 30 years ago, but now we need to break that ceiling. That barrier needs to be broke at some point in time. The next gentleman there, Andy Gibson, finds himself in some hot water. He made some remarks about, I guess, the Muslim community. I see where they had a press conference and they were all lined up, blacks and whites together.
Well, I don't care what the issue is. White folks can always find black support. So now, if you can always find black support when you need it, why blacks can't find white support when they need it? You have to go and ask for it, and you have to pay for it. That's the way it's done. You know it, and I know it.
Well, the other gentleman there, Philip Gunn, he used to be the Speaker of the House in the legislature. He retired, and now he's offering himself up as a candidate for governor. And then the state auditor, Shad White, is on this list. These 4 people have offered themselves up. No Democratic candidate has offered themselves up. We put up some black folk that we know could be the governor and run this state in a very efficient, well manner. But they have not decided to enter the race. I always said that Leroy Walker, the gentleman on the screen now, could be the governor of the state of Mississippi and run this state well. A gentleman that owned more than 14 McDonald's franchises, started the 100 Black Men organization right here. He's on every board, past chairman of the Greater Chamber of Commerce. He is just an outstanding jewel of a guy, and Mississippi would do well and be blessed to have him at the helm of this great state. But he's not decided to enter this race. Next, we had Mike Espy. Mike Espy, the former Secretary of Agriculture. Doc, that's the highest ranking position that a black has held in the state of Mississippi.
Almost anywhere on the national level. I told you many times and been saying for years that's one of the greatest monetized agency in America. Look at all that money he controls. Back $65 billion in his department. Back in those days. Now they have probably over at least a third more money than then. They have all kinds of problems with the farmers today. They don't have enough resources. And I guarantee you, when they get the next president, whether it's Republican or Democrat, we know it's going to be a Republican, they're going to get an increased funding for the Department of Agriculture. Some of the farmers are suffering. Now, when the white farmers suffer, money started falling. Now, the black farmers have always suffered in Mississippi and the other southern states. But when the white farmers start losing their farms, they're going to get some money, or they're going to start thinking about selling the farm. And just a certain percentage of them, those over 65, some of those going to commit suicide. So you are finding that when this happens, before this happened, somebody's going to turn some money loose for the agriculture specialists in America. That's going to be a big apartment. So I'm going to tell you right now, you ought to go and buy you about 1,000 acres of land.
I don't know if a black farmer is going to get into the
money.
No,
they're not going to get, but I didn't say keep it. You buy it and hire you a white manager and give him
hide again, like we used to have to do to try to get in the store to buy alcohol or even a hamburger. We had to get a white man to get it for us. You couldn't go in there and get it.
Sure couldn't.
And you think that we need to do that in 2026?
You do whatever it takes to get justice. And that's not illegal. It's done all over the place. That's an international thing, and that's what people do.
Well, now we have Beverly Hogan, past president of Tulu College. You know this young lady personally, Doc.
Oh, yeah, most certainly. We went to school together.
Did you?
Yes. Jackson State University.
Okay.
In the same class.
In the same class?
Back in the 70s.
Well, I thought you look a lot older than her, Doc, so you must have been repeating the course.
I was in after the military.
Oh, after the military.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Beverly Hogan, again, there's never been a woman that has held the office of governor in this state. Now, other states have. I mean, even England has had a white president. I don't know whether they call them presidents over there, Doc, but Thatcher led the whole country of England. Japan's got a female leader. And so when will Mississippi break the stronghold of white boys? When will Mississippi say, we have not moved the state forward, so we got to try something different and something new? When will that happen, Doc?
Well, it can happen during this current governor's race. If the leaders of the candidates that's already announced do the thing they really need to do and look at all the options and then play the right card, they can win. One of those four people that's already announced, those are what I call the top dogs. One could win without a runoff if they would build coalitions secretly and then get their surrogates to go out and support them. And you'll be surprised at what happened before you know it. But now they can't do this until the last 3 weeks in the campaign. They can't announce it
Why?
because if you announce it, something's going to happen. You have to wait until
They're going to call you a black lover. I can't use the N word. They're going to call you
plus
a
other
black
things.
lover.
And then they're going to start looking at their old paperwork and they're going to find something you did in the last 30 years, whether it's true or false, and start putting that out on you. So you don't.
They're going to destroy your reputation.
That's right. And you're going to lose. So the thing is, you wait until the last minute and you announce what you're going to do.
Doc,
Everybody know that's the way it's supposed to be done.
Doc, we have a few slides that I want the engineer to put up. We're getting ready to close our show out. As always, we try to bring information and direction to the viewers that you won't get anywhere else but here at We Believe Digital. So we're going to talk about a few things here now. Jackson's food access, the growing challenge. Do you know you can get dinner in South Jackson at a restaurant there, Doc?
What
Now,
restaurant?
Maybe
What restaurant in South Jackson?
I don't know one.
But that's why you can't get any dinner there.
That's why you get all of these fast food places down there and all of this Pick Five and all that kind of stuff.
Now, you know darn well, man, that stuff will kill you.
But that's all we have, and that's why we're the most obese state in
That's
the
exactly
country.
right. That's it. And that's
High blood
old
pressure.
food. That Pick Five is part of our culture, but that food is a little older than the same meat you will find
Wow.
in North Jackson. It's one of the so-called major grocery stores.
Wow. Enlarge that a little bit for me. So why this matters economically, there's a lot in food that causes us to be more than unhealthy. It causes us to be poor. It lowers local tax revenues. It has a tremendous impact on our communities, reduces neighborhood retail activity, and on and on and on. The lack of food. Now, Doc, we used to grow our own food.
That's right. We
When
most
you was a
certainly did.
boy, how big was your garden?
Man, you even on the plantation, we had a garden. Now, the man told my father that now you can have a garden, but you can't take my land. You put yours right around the house. And I will give you a couple rows close to your house, but you can't impact the land that you have to farm. And that's what we did. Plus others in the community would do the same thing. So since you didn't have much land, you would plant some peas, a few potatoes. The person down the road would plant some watermelons, and they might have 2 or 3 blackberry bushes close by. Few had peaches. Some would plant okra. See, we were organized during that time. And then you get that stuff and share it with each other. And if you had any left, you would put it in your car and take it to Jackson and Vicksburg and sell it on Saturday.
Wow. Now, I don't believe there's a community garden in Jackson that's sponsored by the government.
No, that wouldn't be a good thing for the government.
Why is that? When your people are hungry and poor.
Who cares about that?
Well,
that's why the people are hungry and poor, because the government has the money right now. They don't even need a community garden. They have the resources now that they could give the folks the resources to buy healthy food. They had the money where they can go into these high schools and colleges and universities and create short-term programs where they teach the regular person that's living in these communities and especially these apartments how they use the can system, or we call it the bucket system in Africa, where they get 10 buckets and put 10 different food items in it and stick it around the house or under the house or side of the house or on the roof somewhere, and they can have enough food to feed the family and to sell. And this can easily be done. It's done in Asia, it's done in Africa, and it could be done right here in Mississippi.
Well, we got to have effective leadership. Now,
That's
I understand that Tyson's is closing as well. Now, the Tyson's plant closed here years ago. Now I understand that Tyson's is closing their plant now. I believe it's in Illinois, and 2,500 jobs are going to be lost, Doc. And the reason they're closing the plants is a shortage of beef. We don't have the cow production, the cattle ranchers and farmers producing enough beef for them to remain open. And so they're closing the Tyson plant.
Well, that's because of bad planning. Bad planning. They are going to have to finance cattle production in other areas of the United States.
Well, how about we import the beef from China?
Well, they're going to do that if necessary to keep them starving to death. They'll do whatever it takes. See, you love communists when you can get something to survive. You hate them when they are being predominant and controlling the economy.
We had an issue with that fish coming out of Vietnam, I believe, the catfish.
Yes, they most certainly did. Yes.
Had a problem with that. I think they were dumping catfish in our market.
They were, and they didn't have the healthy raised catfish. A lot of the Vietnamese, and I'm talking from experience, they had their catfish ponds sometime in the residential area. They didn't have a good sanitary system in some of those areas. They were living in those houses on those stilts, and the water would run under the house, and the bathroom was the lake.
Sounds like the Mississippi Delta at one point.
At one point.
Sugar ditch is what you call
I
it.
guarantee you, that's where they raised the catfish. And Americans enjoyed those fish until they were told that it wasn't sanitary.
I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Now, State Farm is distributing $5 billion in payouts for policyholders. I believe they've been overcharging, Doc, for auto insurance, things of that like that. They are covering 49 million vehicles with payouts of 4% to 10% of the 2025 premiums. Now, Doc, the insurance in Mississippi is the highest of anywhere in the country. The poorer you are, the more you pay for everything, Doc.
That's the history of what I call economic racism. That's the history. The one that makes the less pay the most.
That just doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense, but a good economic sense for the people that control the insurance companies and the car dealerships and the gas companies and everything else. Who cares about the poor having enough to survive on sufficiently? They know they're going to survive. And they have been trained in the poor. If you ever get some extra, you go and buy you a car. And if you want one, we'll let you have it. It's all you got to do is have a job. Say, if you work, you ride. I used to hear that commercial years ago.
Doc, and then there would be folk that would say all Jacksonians need to do, and black folks in particular, is to pull themselves up by their bootstraps.
Can't be done. Some of those bootstraps, man, are so weak. If you pull it up, it'll break before you can get hold to it. It's like an old shoe that's been in the closet for 5 or 6 years. It looks good, but when you pull the string, it'll break. It won't help you.
Can't pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
You cannot do it, Doc. It can't be done.
And then my friends over on WYAB with Kim Wade and Clay Edwards are just constantly talking about the cultural rot in Jackson, Mississippi.
Yeah, I heard Clay Edwards. I listened to him this morning. Boy, he was whipping on you all just like you all were slaves.
He beats up on black people so bad. And Doc, the advertisers are just running over the station.
Oh, yes.
They just running over the station. And then when we come to programs like this and we try to get sponsors, well, I'm afraid of my brand. We don't want my brand to be tarnished. But you can get on the Clay Edwards show and Kim Wade show, and you can advertise all day long.
Well, they know that's where the listeners are. A good advertiser want to put his money where the listeners are, Mr. Socrates.
Well, they know.
Wouldn't you want to do that if you had a big business, if you had a construction company?
I do. I want to do that, but I also got to understand the message. I don't want to be associated with someone that's advocating hanging. You know, if you're saying, follow me, I'm going to hang 15 blacks next year. I don't think I can support you as a candidate, Doc, for that very reason, regardless of who's listening.
Well, now that's good for you, but a lot of your adversaries don't look at it that way. They look at the bottom line. What do you care about a person dying if you consider that person a non human, that you consider that person an inferior person, if you consider that person a savage, if you consider that person one that's been miseducated and won't go to school, even if he had a chance, on and on and on. You cared nothing about those kind of people. Matter of fact, you don't even look at them as human beings.
You don't look at them as human beings.
That's right. A large segment of people in America are not looked at as human beings that have constitutional rights and individual rights as humans.
Well, did the Constitution guarantee you that?
It guaranteed that you were not going to be considered human if you were black. Matter of fact, you know the Constitution was biased against black folks and so-called Native Americans. You were not even considered a human being when they wrote that Constitution. You were not even considered a man or a woman. The Constitution was so bad when they wrote the thing, even the white women were discriminated against. They couldn't even vote for their husband that might run for president or the Senate during that period of time.
Well, I know sometimes we feel like John Brown. We out here in the wilderness. We sending out the message every day that a better day is coming. There's a leader going to come. There's somebody that's coming that's going to change the hearts of the folk in Mississippi. Well, we're going to do something about being last. Nobody wants to be last all the time, Doc. My football team, if they're going to be last all the time, I'm going to give me a new football team.
You're supposed to get a new team and a new coach. But see, the thing that a lot of people are going to have to do is at the bottom of the barrel, you're going to have to make a resurgence of your leadership. You got to start with leadership that's local. You cannot look for these outsiders to come into your town and take your money and give you a few pieces of advice and leave within 30 days and come back the next 30 days for 2 or 3 days and tell you what to do until you get the check. And when they get their check, you're not going to see them anymore. They're going to go to another place where there's some money to be made. So I've been advising people for years, you have to train and identify and then select your own leaders. We have some great schools in this state, in Mississippi, a lot of university students that are studying political science, economics, got hundreds of them in the medical program. Some of the smartest folks around are at these colleges and universities in Mississippi. You have a lot of them in the economic sphere, and they have all the knowledge they need. So we got to stop looking from the outside, get local leaders, get them trained, and finance them and put them in positions of responsibility, started in local government, and then you can have some immediate change. And when I say immediate, I mean 3 to 7 years.
Now we're out of time. As always, time just flies, but we're going to keep ringing this bell. We're going to keep talking about what can we do to bring Mississippi off to the bottom? What can we do to bring blacks and whites together? What can we do to build a coalition between poor whites and poor blacks? What can we do to create effective leadership that Doc is talking about? And so, Doc, share with our viewers that are all over the world. I know some things you can't share on this program.
That's correct.
But they can get that information if they do what?
All they have to do is call us. We have a team that will move out immediately. Call us at 601-201-1957. That's 601-201-1957. Tell us what your problems are or your major problem is, and we will put a 30, 60, 90-day plan together and tell you exactly how you can use this plan to get what you want. But now it has to be in education and training, politics, economic development, religion, or leadership. We have found through research that if you control those 5 entities in your life from birth to death, you can control anything you want. And those areas, again, economic development, leadership, religion, politics, and education and training. That's all you need to control from birth to death. And anywhere you are 30% of the population in those 5 areas that I mentioned, you need to control those areas, and the folks will come to you, even the people with the money, because you make the decision.
Y'all send him an invite to get him out to speak to your group, your churches, your schools, your political, your community meetings, your homeowners association meeting. Avail yourself of this kind of knowledge and information. As always, we appreciate those who subscribe to the program and those that sponsor this program.
There's one thing, too. I'm sorry to break in, but we want to talk about this specifically. Ladies and gentlemen, don't ever forget this. One thing that you all are not doing, brothers and sisters, you're not doing your family well by not having wills and family trusts in your estate planning. You don't have proper insurance. You're not saving and investing. We are specialists in that information. You call us and we'll tell you how you can get rich before you die if you're 40 years of age and died 15 or 20 years. You better not start when you're 18. You'll be able to retire when you're 45. And then you'll be rich enough to run for public office. You won't have to take bribes, and you can be the leader you're supposed to be.
You won't have to take a bribe. We're going to deal with that some more when we come back. We'll get back to you guys on Friday. Thanks again for watching. Stay safe and good night.
Now you want them folks to be criticized.